Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. Thank you for joining me this week for another episode of my series entitled Managing Self, where I discuss with you how I successfully manage myself in dealing with multiple sclerosis for the past 20 years and counting. In addition to my strong sense of faith, my close relationship with my supporting family members and friends, a lot of my focus is oftentimes related to fitness. That is how I manage my multiple sclerosis, which you'll see today. I remember Bill King's comic strip, Family Circle. Two parents, Bill and Thelma, and their kids, Billy, Dolly, Jeffy, and the baby, PJ. Now, when the kids were blamed for something, which they truly were guilty of, oftentimes they laid blame on this fictitious character called Not Me. Such a classic juvenile response, of which I could relate to. Today, I proudly say, what you see is what you get. Sorry if I don't fit into your circle, your family circle, your friend circle, or any of those circle, because I know who I am and what I am, and I won't allow myself to be unfairly usurped into any faux circle. Faux, F-A-U-X. That's like fake news. I'd much rather be in your faux circle than your full circle. That is your F-O-E circle. But I bet I'm not truly your enemy. Oftentimes people misinterpret me saying that I'd rather be in your full circle because oftentimes people are baffled. They're baffled by me. I'm pretty certain that if you construct a Venn diagram, there'd be some overlapping areas, to graphically highlight items that you and I are different, yet are also similar. I believe that many people are quite fine just saying just that. Well, not me. Oftentimes they say it at every opportunity that's presented to them, to which just want to diffuse the responsibility for their own neglect, harmful, oftentimes just plain old self-gratuitous actions. Similarly, I've seen such behavior in corporate America, in corporate environment. I remember we would often call it as, we would pretend we were kicking a football. We called it punting the ball, kind of like a kid playing a game of hot potato. The higher the issue, the less desire anyone has to possess it. Folks literally run around like a chicken with their head cut off from the responsibility of handling the situation. Like the kids' game hot potato, we just want it out of our hands, discarding it as quickly as possible, frantically throwing it as willy-nilly as it may be. Why is this? Well, today I'll share with you my view, my take on the topic. Basically, I'll discuss how I manage myself with hot topics, especially as they are affected by or affect my management of my relapsed remitting multiple sclerosis for the past 20 years and counting. Now, I'm no expert. I'm learning and striving to grow every day, but I do feel that I am qualified to speak on this topic today. Why? Because I have not mastered it. I still fall short at times. However, as an adult, not the clueless, carefree child in denial, living in this make-believe world, trying to shun their responsibilities and have no inclination of the ramifications of his or her actions and words. Today, as an adult, I can admit this. I can admit that quite openly. Now I'll say this thanks to my mama. Yes, I want to most gratuitously give thanks to the woman who would dish out more than just tasty, healthy portions of food. My mama. She's still notorious. She was notorious for serving out, quite the backhand when warranted. And, I'll be honest, of course, as a 7-year-old, I was convinced that it was never warranted. But I'll admit, yes, Mom, I'll admit today that it was warranted. How the hell did the gold paint end up on my damn carpet in the living room? First of all, looking back, I wish we had a fraction of the Food Network cooking competitions airing all day like we do today. The ones that my husband and I often watch. Because back then I was only privy to watching PBS with Julia Child and Justin Wilson, the Cajun chef. My point, when Mom asked that most rhetorical question, asked in order to create that dramatic effect or to make a point rather than to get an answer, she knew how the damn gold paint got on her newly installed carpet. She knew it was closely tied to my older brother Stevie and I painting our new model cars gold to match my Tonka ambulance, the one that I got for my birthday present, that my brother had converted into he called it a Pitmobile. I don't know. Anyway, he used scraps of our old carpet and some gold paint that we found in our daddy's tool shed to make the ambulance look like was it a conversion van, I believe, of the 70s. Anyway, Mom asked the question. All I had for an answer was, not me. And I recall, actually, I remember I put a little emphasis on it, to be an answer that was sweet as sugar, I said. Offered her, like, my most charming, how cute juvenile voice. I guarantee, not me. Anyway, I was imitating Justin Wilson, if any of you guys don't know, a Cajun chef, this Creole or Cajun accent, but nonetheless, it was an unsuccessful deception. It was a lie, and what shortly ensued thereafter was my brother and I got the ass whoopings that we had coming and were well deserved. Well, that answer to my mom's inquiry was about as convincing as me walking in my 6-inch stiletto heels in Vegas the day after I had my second largest exacerbation, my MS flare-up. Check this out. I was on stage in my clear high heels, same as the working girls wear as they approach their desks. Let's call it, their desks. Not of a conventional manner. Let's say, okay, short and sweet. The strippers on the pole. I had my heels like that, just like they wear. And I'll never forget. In fact, when I purchased my first pair, the sales girl so affectionately called me family, which really didn't bother me. It was it was one of many times, it proves to me that I can fit in anywhere. People always think, there's only one side of me or one angle, but there's many sides of me. No, I'm not a stripper. I've never danced. I have no rhythm. But it's just funny that people, okay, I was buying clear heels, and so it was something that we could, some commonality between us. Anyway, that was the first of my many pairs of clear high heels back in 2002. Anyway, the time that I referenced about in Vegas was almost 6 years later. Now, that time I stumbled on, it was 2008, July 2008. I stumbled on this competition stage, not fully comprehending that the 120 degree plus Vegas heat had initiated a very cruel MS flare-up. I managed to finish the show. It was a figure show, bodybuilding with heels. So I finished the show, but I say it was my worst performance ever. Worst ever. But I did it. I finished the show because I was determined. I finished that 2-day competition in my high heels with a smile on my face in Dawn Melanie fashion. Not because I figured I was leading the pack, but because I was in the pack. I was a figure competitor competing. And one of the most memorable, I remember, I think of I knew I looked like I was being challenged up there, but today I think of that, one of the most memorable Star Wars quotes said by Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. He said, "Do or do not. There is no try." So, although I had lost about 45% control of my the right side of my body, literally, I walked on my heels. I completed my turns to the best of my ability, gracefully. Well, as gracefully as I could. I mean, the whole time I was bearing a smile that I prayed would cover up the internal grimace I knew I was fighting to stay concealed. I was listening to the wisdom that I heard Yoda tell Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars movie. I was listening to I call it my inner Yoda. I knew this was not my first struggle. I mean, it wasn't my first struggle. Heck, that was 2008. My first struggle had occurred actually 10 years prior to that. So this wasn't my first struggle, and I was pretty certain that I was going to be dealt many more struggles with MS over time. So I knew it wouldn't be my last struggle, but I didn't really make the correlation until recently. But I see it now. Like I said, that was my inner Yoda. Yeah, Yoda, not yoga. My inner Yoda talked to myself. Again, do or do not. There's no try. And I say today I can appreciate that. What Yoda was doing with with Luke, was he was trying to get Luke to focus on the present and essentially to grow up. Like I said, back when I was a kid, I was quick to say not me. But today I understand that, even that little nugget of undeniable wisdom that Yoda delivered, it resonates in my ears today. And I think it's a simple reminder to basically do something completely. Do something completely, win or lose. Like I said, I knew I wasn't leading the pack. I didn't get first call out. I didn't get second call outs, literally. But I finished. And, I gave it my all. And, I think that was me growing up. And that separates me from being that kid, juvenile mentality into an adult mentality of facing challenges and things like that. So, July 2008, that's what I did. And I can say that was me. I'm not a Star Wars, I'd say Star Wars fan. I'm more of a Trekkie. But another one of Yoda's instructions to Luke was, unlearn what you have learned. And that was kind of that was told to me actually just earlier that year, 2008. And again, actually earlier this year, 2018, by a physical therapist who basically told me to unlearn what I've learned, or at least what I was doing. And this was just simply walking. Back then oh my gosh. Actually, did I say, actually it was later in that year, 2008. I saw a physical therapist. After all this can't walk and all that's crap, I mean, it was daunting. But unfortunately, I had to go through the same thing again early this year in 2018. But like I said, both times the therapist, explained to me that I had to unlearn what I've learned. And that's kind of weird when you think of walking. Like, really? I literally had to relearn to walk, essentially. Today I understand that my walking abilities are probably about 90% thought process, where most people, they do it just by, intuition or just by feel. My proprioception is so challenged that I do have to think about every step that I take so that I don't fall over. Again, listen to my inner Yoda. I understood that making excuses for myself was pretty much frivolous. No one wants to hear excuses. Why? Coulda, shoulda, woulda, but you didn't. That's all, I say, a piece of malarkey. No one wants to hear those excuses, so I knew that I probably shouldn't make them. Okay, I was having difficulties walking, but with understanding what the roadblocks were in the process, I faced my fear, and even though they were literally baby steps, I took them, and I still continue to practice my walking at least four times a week on a treadmill, just walking. Not for cardio benefits. I'm not trying to sweat by any means necessary, but I walk to practice my walking. Because again, no excuses of no. I believe no excuses should exist. If there's something I can do about it, I'll do it. If not, I'll shut up and I'll shut up. There's nothing else to say. Now, why do we even make excuses for things? Earlier I spoke of us diffusing the responsibility. We have the ability to do something, but our response is oftentimes not favorable. We kind of get it twisted. Responsibility. We fail to recognize that it's our ability to respond in a proper manner. Now, over my almost 46 years of life, I realized that a lot of times we're just afraid, and we oftentimes let fear consume us and rule us. Almost take control over the situations. One more Yoda for you guys. And this is Yoda said in the Phantom Menace. He said, "Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering." Now, I think about that, and I'm like going, man, seems like a slippery road to a bad place. And I'm not going to say a slippery road to a bad place. Fear. Oftentimes let our emotions take control of us, and let our response to what is determine our state of mind and control our emotions, and oftentimes lead to unnecessary stress. Our response, things are, but it's how we respond. Probably 80% of the 20% that exists is that 80% of our response is what causes the stress. So we're in control of things more so than we even imagine. Again, I want to just read that quote again from Yoda. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Sad to say that, we may start off being afraid of something, and ultimately it's going to lead to our suffering. But not so much because it's an automatic transition, but it's because we get angry, and then that evolves to an unfortunate hate that we may possess. So, all right, let's rewind back to Vegas. Vegas, July 2008. I call it the embarrassment. It was a situation like life was like literally slapping me in the face. And, as an adult, I was learning not to hide behind, because of that incident, I learned to not hide behind the mask. My secret. I had MS. At that point, I was in my 10th year of multiple sclerosis. And instead of stifling the fact that I was suffering from this unpredictable, debilitating neurological disease, I shouted it from the rooftops. That is after the show. After the show, when I got finished, went back to Texas. I shouted from the rooftops, I have MS. I likened it to a public crier. I let it be known. I told my story. I was like, okay, I'm a woman who's appeared to look great for the minute, or in any instance, or some instances, shall I say, who that weekend in Vegas, actually the entire week in Vegas, I looked like I had down 6 drinks in about a couple hours, which my body can't handle. I looked like a drunk. I was wobbling with probably as much grace as a baby cow. I was like, that's me. That's me. That's me. I said it. That's me. That was me. It was me at that point in time. I claimed it. I said it. That's me. Just the opposite of how a lot of people, including myself, cohabitate with information that they know is true. Oftentimes they'll gravitate towards stuff that's, information that's morally degrading. Things like that. Things that just aren't good. Things that are embarrassing. When I got back to Texas after the show, I embraced my imperfections, my challenges. I actually used multimedia, social media, whatever. I use social media to spread the word, to spread my word about my MS. I told my followers, current ones and future ones, that's me. Dawn Melanie has MS. In one medium, I believe I went on some kind of silly, playful, I don't know, I want to say rampage, but comparison, saying, hey, Dawn Melanie didn't sit on a wall, but she sure did have a heck of a fall. Actually, I didn't fall in Vegas. It was actually, the fall happened within the week that I returned back home to Dallas. So, like I said, I sat on a wall, I had a great fall. What happened was, I recall the doorbell rang, and I reacted. Or more, I didn't react the way that I wanted to or intended to. What happened was I had an intention tremor, was sparked, kind of locked up, and I'm trying to move my limbs quickly, which they didn't want to work. I actually fell. I stubbed my toe. I was pretty sure it was broken, but I got the lame diagnosis that it wasn't broken. It was just, my official diagnosis was turf toe, a sprain to the ligaments around the big toe joint. So, this hinge works. Turf toe, I don't know. For all the time I heard turf toe was a football injuries, and I thought that was more serious than what I had suffered. But like I said, it was just turf toe. My big toe was kind of jammed, I'd say. So I couldn't achieve that that up and down motion. The hinge where you bend your toe. I couldn't do that at all. It was just stiff. My MS. Here's my MS again. Hey, that's me, right? My MS had been a pain in my hands. Still is today. Heat, cold, water. Hurts my hands, like, severely. Anyway, MS had been a pain in my hands, pain in my eye. I went blind, actually, earlier that year. My right eye, lost my vision for about 4 or 5 weeks. MS had been a pain in my ears. I think at that time I had difficulty hearing at least 3 times at that point. Lost hearing significantly each of those times. All independent incidents. And let's see, my hands, my eye, my ears. Oh, and now my toe. Wow, now MS is a pain in my toe. I guess I could succinctly say it in a nutshell. MS has been a pain in my ass. Aha, that felt good. Not my sub toe, but the fact that I prioritized being present with myself. No longer was I hiding behind my MS diagnosis, all the challenges that I had or was probably going to have in the future, but I was actually doing the opposite of what I had oftentimes in the past, and I know that oftentimes many of us are guilty of doing just this. We claim it's the truth, and we'll say, I have MS. It doesn't have me. But each time we lie to ourselves and try to cover up or hide the truth, we're giving MS a power, and you're giving MS the control, not to be stifling us or keeping us or suppressing us from being our true selves. So today I continue to use social media to share my thoughts, my ideas, and pictures, especially pictures. evidencing what my successful management of my multiple sclerosis looks like. How about that? Now, prior to that incident in July 2008, I would deny any challenges that I was dealing with my multiple sclerosis. That concerned me, as it concerned me. I'd hear a story of someone else, and I emphatically tell myself, that's not me. So as I close this week, I want to encourage you all listening today to remember and to remind others, it's okay. It's okay to say, that's me. I'm me, and you're you for a reason. God makes no mistakes. Embrace yourself, embrace all of you are, all the angles that exist. And as my mom always stressed to me, and now I understand why she did. You can't make everyone happy, she would say. She said, be yourself and, let's say neglect them all or forget them all. It seemed a little harsh to me, even to this day, but she's right. And, growing up, or at the beginning stages of after my diagnosis with MS, I didn't admit it. I kind of denied it, especially with my challenges. I was like, oh no, I'm strong, I'll get over this, this is nothing. But today I understand that was more or less an extension of my shame. Like, oh gosh, I have this disease. But today I'm like, you know what? It's a part of who I am. I'm fighting MS. I battle MS, every day. It's who I am. And I embrace all of it because it's part of me. The fact that I wake up each day and go to battle with MS is part of me. And that's, I think, pretty respectable. I do have MS, multiple sclerosis. And today, I'll openly talk about it. I do openly talk about it. I tell my story. And I don't focus on others' MS. When I say I don't focus on theirs, I don't focus on their particular individual scenarios. Because mine is mine. Of course, is yours. Mine is mine. When I do research, oftentimes on the internet, I mindfully recognize that all this technology we have at our fingertips, it should be our tool, and it shouldn't be a task master. And I feel like if ever I lose sight of that, I better understand that it could bite back. This getting too wrapped up into this technology, especially the internet. Some of you listeners out there may be like, I know what she means. So I ask you, does it sound familiar? Chew on that, literally. If you are indeed in denial, saying that's not me, whether you have MS or any other chronic illness, I hope it does not have you. And if ever you feel not good enough or are overwhelmingly challenged by it, I encourage you to eventually stand up and say, that's me. You'll appreciate the weight that's lifted off of your shoulders. This is Dawn Melanie, 21st year MS warrior. That's me. I thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join me next week here on the MS&Me Radio Network. Have a blessed week.